On this episode of RVA Real Estate Talk, we're going to discuss, should you remain a solo agent or is it time to join a
You're
team?
listening to RVA Real Estate Talk with Jared Davis and Galen Parker, your source for an honest, insightful look into Central Virginia's real estate market. Combined, Jared and Galen have over 20 years of experience in real estate, as well as hundreds of testimonials from clients past and present who rely on them for advice and assistance buying and selling a home in today's incredibly hot and competitive housing market. And now, your hosts, Jared Davis and Galen Parker.
I am Jared Davis.
And I am still Galen Parker.
How you doing, buddy?
I am doing hot.
Yeah?
I don't know if you checked the temperature, but it is, and this is actually
1,000?
436,000 degrees outside right now.
Yeah. You know, I went to the beach last week and it was
Hey.
60.
Don't act like we can't tell. We
Am I,
see
am I
that base.
tan? You see this
We
base?
see that copper tone.
I am not opaque anymore. I am
looking bad.
just, I don't even know what the word is now. Now I'm white. I've gone from
He's
opaque.
now white.
I've reached white.
He was at translucent.
Yeah, that's right.
He's from the Isle of Caucasus.
Yes, I was at the beach last week. It was like 60 degrees for half of the week.
How
And
funny
the
that is.
day I come back, it's been 98
Like
every
turning
single
up the
day.
heat.
So what do we got? What do we got? We went to the racetrack last week
We
together.
were at the racetrack last week, and that was a super great time. A lot of fun was had. You can start. We drove down there together, like little kids giggling in the GT3, just like. We're so happy to be out. We got we got a hall pass, but it's not. What? We got permission to go together on a vacation.
I don't know what he's doing. The hall pass is for Texas next month.
What? No, I don't know what any of these words mean. So we got permission to go out. So we were super excited. We packed the car with like little snacks.
We were just eating Doritos and Cheetos all the way down, trail mix. Yes, if you don't know him, I like to track cars. So Galen's never got to experience
Never gone
the
to this track.
racetrack.
I have a busy schedule of life, so I was just like, it was even like a spur of the moment. You probably didn't know I was coming until like the day before.
I didn't. I just had no one to
Because
go
I
with
could not
me.
like commit to anything. I'm like looking at my schedule like, Then I was like, you know what? We're doing it. So
Everyone bailed on me, and if I'm going to die in the car, I don't want to die alone. So Galen was nice enough to come. So
it was very safe.
how
with
was
no
your
one
how was your first on-track experience in a supercar?
Here's the thing. I'm cooler than a cucumber in the wintertime. So I was in that thing.
This is where I'm disappointed.
I was like,
There's
this?
no footage. I want to see footage.
I brought my GoPro.
That's
and I
right,
could
we had
not
GoPro
find
issues.
the housing, and I had everything
I
but the
have a
housing.
million of them.
Yeah, but I didn't know that when I left.
And you
so
said it was very like last minute. We thought we had it, then like
it just
Jackie was looking for it.
disappeared. It was really annoying.
It
So-
was great, man. I enjoyed it. You know, the first, as we discussed before, the first 3 laps were like a little bit, because like you don't know. Like I haven't been on the track, so I'm like, I don't know what's coming, and I'm just like, whee.
There's a lot of blind corners.
Yeah, exactly.
There's
And-
ups and downs and,
I
hills
don't
and
like.
crests.
I've got a rep to maintain, so I can't be like, "Hey, you know what happened to Galen? He peed himself when he was in Jared's car." So I was like, "No, man, I just like maintain."
Put a puppy
cool.
pad down.
I was like, "Oh, this is great, man." I was like, "Hey, speed it up a little bit, if I dare you."
Yeah, he's like, can we go? We can't go any faster.
I was like, "Is that all you got?" I was like, 146. That's it. But no, it was fun. It was. I love at one point you're like, "How you doing, buddy? You want to eat more?" And I was just like, "Let's keep it going." I was like, "Keep it going." I was just like, but there was. I can see. I told you at one point I was like, I can see how someone gets sick.
Yes, I had a friend throw up everywhere in the GT4, but not in my GT4. Like I got him out. But like I'm very cautious with people because the first time I took somebody to the track, they did a session and then were like woozy the rest of the day. And then I brought another friend and he was like, "Hey man, I think we can pit in after like 3 laps." I mean, you did like 12 laps. And after like 3 laps, I was like, "Okay, no worries. Like, do you feel okay?" And he was like, "Yeah, man, I'm good." And so I was like, "All right, cool." And he was like, "But if you could just slow down a little, that'd be cool." And I was like, "All right, no worries." So I slowed down a little bit, and we take the next turn. He's like, "You should slow down more." And I was like, "Okay, we can do that."
He's like, "I'm gonna try to get my head out this window."
Yeah, so I was like, "Are you going to be sick?" And he's like, "No, I'm good." So then we pull into the pits, and I'm driving through the pits slowly, as you're supposed to do. And a buddy comes up, and he's like, "How's the car handling?" And I was like, "It's really good, yada, yada, yada." He starts talking to me. And then my buddy's like, I need to get out. So I was like, you are going to be sick. And he was like, yes. So then, so then I was like, all right. So then I speed through the pits. I get out. I was like, don't you throw up in my car and don't you throw up in my helmet. So he gets the helmet off. He jumps out the car. He makes it to a trash can. And then he's just throwing up for like the second half of the day.
So that pancakes shouldn't have had in the morning.
I mean, I don't even know if we ate. I don't.
You know what's funny is like you and I did eat before we got in the car. We had like steak and cheeses. We were just
like pimento cheese, like steak.
I'm like more fries. We're like eating all that stuff. Night before we had Mexican.
Yeah,
but
margaritas. Yeah,
that's right. When we like kind of like finished, I was just like I didn't feel nauseous, but I could feel like the tenseness of your body, like doing
yeah,
this.
It's a lot of
G's. It feels like you did a workout.
Yeah, you're
like,
pulling like a G and a half at at the max. That's what the track thing said that I run, like the track app or whatever.
Did the back end slip out from you a little bit?
It wasn't bad.
No,
that car just has so much grip, and I mean, it's more like the car is more adequate than I am. So as hard as I push, it just felt like, man, I could keep pushing harder. It's just like, but how fast do I have to go before I reach the limit, and then can I catch it at however fast you're going?
We had a blast. We saw a lot of like really cool cars. Shout out to Mark that we met.
New M3, yeah.
He brought a 2-month-old like BMW M3 straight off the lot.
Oh, wow.
Didn't change the tires, the brakes. He was like, I just want to see how this thing performs. He's got a ton of cars, but he was like, I just want to see how it performs, and he was like very
Maybe I should
excited.
bring the Tesla out there.
You could,
Yeah.
I mean, you bring whatever.
He had like 120 like track days.
Yeah, you
under his
can.
belt.
I mean, you can run beginner classes and stuff like that, and then they have intermediate. Intermediate had like a mix of different things, and then most of the advanced classes typically pretty fast
Did
cars.
you pass anything that was kind of like you were tracking a little bit to pass? And
So the entire day, only two cars passed me the entire day. No, 3. There was another 911 that was pretty fast and intermediate. Outside of that, nothing else in the class. I passed everything in the class. And then in advanced, there was a GT3 RS that had racing slicks on it, and there was a new C8 Vet that had racing slicks on it.
Oh.
And both of those, I mean, slicks versus street tires is just hard to manage. So I let them pass, and like I chased the GT3 for a while. It was this old Russian guy. He was like, "You're a very fast driver." We got out, but it's just
that navy blue one.
The Vet.
No, the GT.
No, it was that white GT3
Oh,
RS.
got it, yeah.
Yeah. And then it was like a red C8. But other
And
than
then there
that,
was this
Slicks on the new
crazy
Vet, huh?
Cadillac.
yeah, all the Vets were running slicks. Oh, dude, that's slow. Oh my God, there's this
There's a guy there
Cadillac
with, like, a
out
Cadillac,
there
and
that was
it's
just
just
like on a Sunday drive. I was like,
Cadillac.
someone's gonna rear end this guy, like, because I mean, you'd come in.
Like, get out of the way.
I mean, at one point, I came down the back straight. Like, I was, thankfully, by the end of the day, I was like, just, can I get with the advanced drivers, please? Because I don't want to be, like, the slowest guy. So I was like, I don't want to run, like, in the instructor class. And then they're like, oh,
Right.
man, like, we're race car drivers. This guy needs to get out the way. So I was like, oh, I'll run a class below. But at one point, I mean, it was just like an autocross. I was doing like 130 down the back straight, just weaving past cars because this one Cadillac was just like at the
It's just
front.
out there.
And there were like 13 cars behind him, and like they were slow. No one could
what
pass.
kind of Cadillac?
It was like an ATS-V, so I mean, it's not necessarily like a slow car, but
I think it's like
It's
a
the
little
driver.
bit. Yeah, it's a little bit slow, but like the driver, he was just like, oh, Pat, there you go. Like I'm like, oh man, this
like,
is...
just give me a point by, please. Get out of the way.
But it was a blast. We had a fun highlight of the trip. Obviously, it was the jetted tub bubble bath.
He was bubble bathing in the morning while I was out in the morning
Can
session.
you hear me? There you go. So we had Jared had went in the morning. I had like some work to do, so I was just like, you know what I'm gonna do? Treat yourself.
You did it.
I jumped in the bubble bath, jetted tub. I was like, ooh. I can see how people. I'm not
Wear the helmet.
Yeah, I had the helmet on. Yep, I had it fully dressed. I can see how people get into bubble. It's not my thing, but like now,
Yeah.
I was like, Jared, I'm about to have you give me some bath salts and some candles and just like put on some Sade and really enjoy my my morning. But it was like that was like a funny point because like I haven't told my friends. They're like, "No, what are you guys doing?" I'm like, "Well, Jared's at the track and I'm currently
I'm
just
sitting in the
soaking
bathtub right
And
now.
they're just
It's like a married
"What?"
couple. It's
I
like a
was just
married couple.
I was like, really?
Tell
just
you, we
trying to
talked about that. I was like,
relax?
it's weird that this racetrack has this hotel room that has like this jetted bath in it, and then I'm like, that's exactly what it's for. It's for
Yeah,
a
it's
wife
like,
that's
'cause
like,
of the
I'll
wives that-
go, but
Right.
I gotta
If
have
you make
something to
me-
do.
Yeah. We had doubles. We had double beds, so good time at all. We had thank you the fine folks in Danville who were very kind and polite to us. They very welcoming. So they saw 2 studs out there, and they couldn't help but stare.
So let's talk about the market for a second, Galen. What have you seen over the last after the bit?
a little more user friendly. And what I mean by that is that you can schedule showings now, and you can have showings that are more than like 15 seconds. At one point, it was like, one, you couldn't even get your client in to see something. And if you did see something, they were like, oh, it's 15-minute increments. And it's like, hey, client, I need you to make this $400,000 purchase. Also, I need you to bring $40,000 cash so you can go over. And you can only see it for 15 minutes, so no pressure. Now it's a little bit better. If you've got a super nice house, you're still going to go over.
Yep.
But I've seen some relatively nice houses still that, I got 2 recently that were at ask. And now that doesn't say that the ask price wasn't, higher than maybe it should have been, but we didn't blow past that. And so I've got all my clients are happy except for one. One I haven't got, and I've been like harassing him. I'm like, man, you're the last holdout.
Same guy.
Yeah, I was like, you're the last holdout.
Man.
I told him because he had they had a house, appraisal issues, bonked out. Now they're like looking again, and I'm like, man, this is your time. Like, you want a house? Let's get back to it. So I talked to him last week. He's like, all right, I'm gonna get back this weekend. So it's supposed to be this week, but I haven't heard back from him. So I'll keep harassing him. But I'm like, if you're looking, this is your time. Get back in it.
Yeah. Instead of having 30 offers, now we're seeing like 2 to 3. So I think we're seeing a little soft. Appraisers have catched up. We had a lot of appraisal issues now where I think the comps just can't go up but so much. So I think now's a good time. It's starting to be a good time.
Do you think also it's because of kids are out of school, so to speak, the holiday?
I think the country opening up has helped. I think now that you can go to your gym and your saunas are open and your pools are back open and things aren't closed. I think people are like, okay, I don't hate my house as much now, or I can make this last a little longer. I think it's softening a little, but the fact of the matter is there's still a 4.2 million house deficit in the country. So the demand is going to, and interest rates still low.
I was say, what's the interest rate lately?
They're still like 3. I mean, right around
I think
that.
a lot of it's like there are buyers who just got completely scared off because of the craziness of like April and
want
May.
to deal with the.
And
the
now, like,
bidding.
so there was like you would eventually imagine some of those people would have backed off, but now they're going to start trickling back in, and probably maybe not as aggressive. But if you want a house, you're getting a house. If you want to sell a house, you're going to sell your house.
Yeah, I'd say it's like a good middle point now. I mean, it's still seller's market, but I think at the end of the day, you're not having to go maybe as high over ask depending on what the market value is. So, and on a side note, progress update for the team. I know we post this podcast a little late. We're kind of behind, and then by the time I mark it, it's probably even older. But we're just passing the halfway point of the year, and we've crested over 100 deals and over $30 million in sales.
There you go.
So it's
crazy.
awesome to think about, because last year we did over 100 deals still, but we were like the lower hundreds, right? This year we're tracking almost 200, and we were in like the 35 to 40 million territory last year. This year we're like 50 to 60.
That client appreciation party is about to be.
Oh man, should we do that in September?
When is that
a
happening?
September thing?
When is that happening?
I think you and I did talk about it. I think that is a good.
I meant to put that on our agenda, so you might as well just write it on the agenda.
I've got so many notes right now, but yes. It's actually on like another piece of paper.
I just make him take notes all day.
I
He doesn't
got
actually
a
take them. He
crazy-
just
I got a
writes. He draws
crazy idea.
pictures when I tell him to write stuff down.
Yeah,
I got a crazy idea.
All right, give me your crazy idea, Mike.
I
Fire away.
say if we do like a customer appreciation, if you're going to do it.
I mean, we're gonna do it. We do it every year.
A pre-party, we do the podcast before the party. So if they want to come and hang out, they can watch the podcast.
Like a live podcast.
Like a live podcast. And we stream it.
I think the idea needs some tweaking, but I think that there's something to it.
It's just off the top of my head. Relax there.
Maybe what it
Relax
is,
there.
we have
Relax
clients
there.
come on the podcast.
Well, that's fine.
Where do we do the podcast?
We do it at the location.
At Casa de Barco
Yeah.
with Margs
with like
in
these
hand.
lights and stuff.
Well, we
and
set it up.
With
We do,
Margs
like,
in
yeah.
hand.
I don't hate that.
I don't hate it.
I don't hate that.
I think it's a be fun idea. We do live,
Like a
stream,
live stream podcast, but it's not actually
yeah.
live
A
stream.
little more
Right.
relaxed.
A little more relaxed.
Just kind of like.
Maybe we have some special guests.
We're gonna be more relaxed than we are. I'm pretty relaxed for these things. So I don't know.
I'm gonna have ticket tokens around me like Rambo vests.
Just like pull
Hey.
your drink tickets off as you come.
Maybe we
that's
play
a
a
good idea.
game,
All right,
or something like
you
that.
want to squiggle that down?
Yeah.
I'm gonna squiggle that down too. Okay. That's what he does to me with all my notes too. He pretends to write.
It's like
He's like, that's a great idea.
it's like Jimmy Fallon or even Jimmy Fallon or Conan O'Brien when they take it. They're always like, all right. But I did just write client appreciation and I wrote a star next to it. So there you guys both.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Okay,
No,
well,
that's a good. I was gonna say with the race car, we were gonna audition for Fast and Furious 10.
is
Because
it
I
10
feel
now?
9.5.
We're
I
there
mean,
now.
because I feel like we're there.
Okay.
As far as racers,
Done. Yeah.
Then Diesel, holla at your boy.
Yeah, is he in it anymore? I mean,
I think he's in it. The Rock's not
out.
in it.
They're not
Has
friends.
anyone seen
Cena,
it?
John
We have
Cena's
not
in it.
seen it yet.
See, here's my thing.
I think
with
like
those.
I think like Cena's like Vin Diesel's brother.
Yeah, that's really
really?
ridiculous.
I think
And
that was a preview.
Step brother.
I was like,
I don't know.
Yeah, no.
And he's like also some international whatever.
Yeah, I was like-
I
the
love
funny
it.
thing about those movies is
wor-
they're obviously ridiculous.
The worse it gets, the better it gets.
Exactly.
Right.
That's how
I
it
want to
works.
see it. But they also do like cameos. So like halfway through the movie, don't be surprised if The Rock shows up.
Yeah.
Because everyone's like, oh, he doesn't like him. I was like, you know what they both like? Money.
Yeah.
I was like, they're like, so don't be surprised because like they brought like Han back. Han was dead.
Yeah.
Now he's in it. The
But he
dude
was a
from
favorite,
like
so we gotta bring
yeah.
him
So
back.
it's like they're bringing
Bring
back
him
people
back.
that are like, are you like
Dude,
other
what if we got the guy?
franchises?
What if we got the white guy from Tokyo Drift? What's his name in the movie?
He's
Johnny.
in that one.
Is in 9?
Yeah, he's in that.
What?
What?
Oh, man,
I thought he
Hey,
died.
let's just quit right
So,
now. Can we
the
stop
only
the
reason I know
podcast
that-
and go to the movies?
The only reason I know that because
Didn't
I
he
checked
die?
the IMDb. No, I mean, he wouldn't have died.
Who?
He's alive.
I thought he died in the movie.
No, because at the end of the movie, Vin Diesel shows up. Then they're in Japan.
okay.
and
Some
stuff
people
like that.
die in the movie. Some people
Han's the
died
only
in
one
real
that died,
life.
and now he's back. That's good. Paul Walker
It's
died.
it's
Right.
kind of hard to keep track of.
Yeah.
I made the inflammatory comment that Paul Walker being gone doesn't really
If
lose
Paul Walker
anything.
came back, he'd be like, "Still going on?"
He's like, what? He's like, I'm just happy to have work, to be honest with you guys. So,
Yeah.
No, all right.
All right. Well, I think we've filled a lot of minutes on just random stuff. Should we get into the deep dive? All righty. So now, deep dive. Let's do the deep dive, Mike.
See the clouds and let them be.
All right.
Keep every story of your days a mystery.
Is this like gospel?
Hear the songs in the breeze.
Jesus is good. That's what I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for like the gospel hooks right now. Let me tell like gospel music.
Bring on the fire. Bring on the rain.
He saved me.
Can take you down.
Fade me out of this.
Crashing like thunder. Stealing your
I'm not fading. I'm just.
nothing.
You need more. Are we getting to the hook? Is there a hook we gotta
This
listen
is
to?
the hook. That is the hook.
Because he believes. I mean, fade me out of this. Let me get into this deep dive where you throw me off completely. I mean, just straight up
love
gospel
that. I mean,
music.
we just-
That's why we're getting it for free. That's how we get that on the podcast, I guess.
He saved
They can't make
me.
money on gospel music, right? Isn't there some kind of rules? Something
Receive
like
free, give free.
that?
All right.
All righty. Well, the deep dive is what?
Well, we're trying to decide: should I?
Not
is
I.
it best for me?
Should you?
Should you?
Yeah.
Join a team or fly at Han Solo as an agent? What is the best? What are some of the things that are related to that? What comes in that? What are some things that you need to really calculate the costs, really think about before you make either one of the decisions? So we're going to talk about the pros and, of course, the cons of both.
Yeah, so one of the reasons this has come up is because, I mean, in all honesty, with our EXP model, we talk to a lot of agents that are curious about it. They want to come on board. They ask, should we be on a team? Should we do our own thing? What's the benefits of both? And it really comes down to, my mind just blanked completely. I just completely lost it. But we have so many conversations with people that we said we should just do a podcast where we talk about, what's right for you. Because there are perks to both.
Yeah.
There's definitely a good reason to be solo. There's a good reason to be on a team.
I've almost mentally created a questionnaire when talking to an agent when they ask this, because it's
That's good.
almost like, all right, do you have money? Do you have experience? Because those two determining factors are going to lead you in wildly different directions as far as what you want to do. For instance, if you have experience, then maybe perhaps you might want to go solo. But there would probably be reasons for that, because there are tons of high caliber experienced agents who are on teams for their own reasons. But the reason why we say that is because, one, if you've got a lot of experience, you probably don't need a lot of coaching and brokerage support.
Possibly, yeah. And I guess the way that you probably got to get the elephant out of the room first. And that is, if you're solo, hypothetically, and not always, based on a lot of people we've talked to, you think, I'm going to save money because I'm not paying a team splits, right?
Yep.
So that's one of the biggest things up front when people are thinking about, do I want to be solo or do I want to be on a team? Almost the first thing that ever comes up, is it worth paying money to a team, right? Because most likely there's some kind of broker split involved, plus you have some kind of team split.
Yep.
Now, with that being the case, what I have found is, at least with our team and the way that we pay our splits, most of the agents are making about the same amount that they would make if they were solo. Some are making even more money. Two that we brought on this week actually were having a worse split than what they're getting on the team by just being solo agents at their brokerage.
Yeah.
But there is a cost. So sometimes maybe if somebody's on a flat fee brokerage or something like that, maybe they're saying, well, I'm only going to pay $500 a transaction and keep my commission. Why wouldn't I do that versus coming over here and having to give away, 30%, say, of my commission? So with that being said, let's talk about costs of a solo agent first, probably, because we got to think about, all right, if you're going to go solo, sure, maybe you hypothetically, maybe you're hypothetically going to save money on splits, possibly, but now what are the things that you need to pay for?
I mean, it was 1735 when Mahatma Gandhi said the following: you got to pay the cost to be the boss. He didn't really say that, but when you think about being your own boss, it sounds great. In a lot of ways, it is great, but there are some costs like that you're like, one, I wrote, who pays for your advertising? Not just your advertising of listings, but your advertising of yourself.
Yeah. So any kind of lead gen that you want to do, any kind of purchasing, mailings, printings, whatever it is.
Headshots, business cards, signs, all of these things.
Photographer.
Photographer.
Yeah.
I mean, you got an iPhone, you could probably. Not just kidding. You really need to get a photographer.
And then on top of that, then you got to think about softwares, right? So some brokerages will offer some kind of client management system to house leads, but a lot don't. And then on top of that, is it one you like? EXP gives us KV Core, but we actually use a different one on Teams. So there's nothing inadvertently.
What's your CRM like?
Yeah, so what kind of CRM? What do you have to pay for that? Most CRMs are going to be at least a few $100 a month, and that's just to have the CRM. That's before you have any kind of ad support throughout it, any other software add-ons, anything else.
I also think a lot of times when I'm talking to an agent and they say like, oh yeah, we got a CRM, it's not that, they try to minimize its importance.
Oh yeah, it's one of the most important things.
And then but when we have agents come on who want to join the team, that's like the first question. They want to see the CRM, and I'm like, guys, it is incredibly important that you have a CRM that you like, that's functional, that you can kind of connect it to advertisements, so your lead gen goes to it. Don't downplay the CRM. I get that there are many people who are like, I've got an Excel spreadsheet. That's great. I'm like, that is great. But in 2021, you've got to kind of step your game up. And your competition, they're doing the top-notch stuff.
Office space, right? That's one of those things as a solo agent. Maybe you're at a brokerage that'll give you office space. And most likely, if you're a new agent and you're inexperienced, the answer is probably no. Maybe you have a common area to work. If you become a more experienced agent or you're one of the top producers in that office and you're solo, then most likely they're going to give you an office or charge you for an office or do something where they'll give you a space to work. EXP, we're a virtual brokerage, so we have access to some co-working areas for free in Richmond. I'm sure other places in the country, depending on where you're working at. The Regis ones are free through EXP. But we as a team actually house offices that we pay for. So that way people have places to work. They have conference rooms. They have all of those things. So again, if you were a solo agent, would you have to pay for those things? Possibly. Even when I was with Remax, I had to pay for my office, even though we were the top producers. It's just how it worked. If you wanted office space, you had to pay a little extra money for it. And again, every brokerage is different.
And yes, you could say, well, I can just save some money. I'll work from the office at home. And I'm like, true, you can. I said, but sometimes meeting your clients, sometimes it gets old if you're doing it always in a Starbucks.
Yeah.
Because eventually it's kind of hard, basically, real estate's a very, surface. They want to see, are you successful? They want to see, what are you doing? And if every meeting's like talking over people over like a Starbucks, or like, we got John hazelnut latte, and you're like in the background like, yeah, so this is, I do so many deals. It's like at some point you're like, all right, you've got to go to a direction where that reflects, hey, this is a business, I'm running a business. And so people who are on our team, they love it because they've got access to conference rooms, they have support, and they can
beer and wine on tap.
We'll talk about that a little bit when we switch to the team. But yeah, those are some of the benefits, some of the things that you gotta think about.
And then another big cost, and again, this is broker dependent, would be transaction coordination and assistance, right? So say you're a new agent. A transaction coordinator is great because you may not know what you're doing in the transaction one, but then even if you do know what you're doing, you are now having to order your termite inspections, order your HOA inspections, make sure your well and septic is ordered, make sure the paperwork gets to the lender, make sure it gets to the closing company, make sure everything's good, coordinate with the clients. That's a lot of work. There are services that you could pay for to just have it TC'd for you, but then you're paying out of pocket on that. And then as you become a higher producing agent when you're solo, typically you're going to need to hire somebody. So again, this is now a cost, and there's nothing wrong with it. I was a solo agent for many years before I even built the team. And at some point, we had a transaction coordinator in the office that handled a lot of it. But at some point, we reached a point where even the TC wasn't enough. We needed another full-time person just to handle other things. So you had to figure, can I afford that? Is it worthwhile? Or if I paid some kind of team split, would I get a lot of these things without having to pay for them? And then where's the benefit? So really, you got new agents, but you also have experienced agents. So the question is, if you're new, what am I getting out of the team? But even if I'm experienced, just because maybe I'm making good money, it doesn't necessarily mean that a team isn't a good spot. But it's what you want, because you talked earlier, Galen. You'd mentioned it's running a business, right?
Yeah.
Essentially, this is a business, and maybe you're a really good realtor, but how are you on business management? How are you on systems, on marketing? And if you're good with all of those things, then you may be a great solo agent and not need any help whatsoever.
But I'm like, how is your work-life balance?
Yeah, exactly. Vacations and things like that. So where do you want to go now? Because I feel like we're teetering on too many team benefits. We probably need to throw some solo benefits in there, because there are benefits.
Yeah, let's talk about revenue.
Yeah, so for sure. So I mean, you think if you
no split fees, right? So you pocket a lot of that money that you're
that's true
that you're generating. You're not giving it. You're going to probably pay your broker something at some point. Maybe you cap, maybe you don't cap. That's broker specific.
Yeah.
But if you're not on a team, then you're not splitting that with anyone else. Granted, you, as we mentioned before, there are those costs, but that revenue that goes straight into your pocket to do as you see fit.
Yeah, and one benefit that I would see for a solo agent would be maybe not wanting leads, team support softwares. You have some agents out there that have a very specific market. Maybe they live in a certain neighborhood and they farm a certain area, or they have family ties where they just end up having a lot of residual business and referral business. And they say, look, my price point's high. My market is good. I don't want to call leads. I don't want to do open houses. I don't want to do any of these things. My office has a transaction coordinator. I'll pay them their splits, whatever. I'm going to do my 10, 15, 20 deals a year, 5, whatever. And I'm super happy with doing this thing solo. I don't need your support.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? On the flip side, you also have people that will come on teams and they just say, hey, I actually still don't need this support. I'm actually still have my client base. Maybe it's contractors. Maybe they say, I've got a bunch of contracts and flippers and things like that, investors. I don't really need any of your leads. I don't need the support. But I do like being able to go out of town and be able to call somebody on the team and say, hey, can you cover this? I do like having the transaction coordinator, so I'm not having to track down HOAs and termites and this and that. I do like...
It's my forte.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just the social aspect. So, I think every real estate office is different, but, some real estate offices in themselves probably have a nice social setting. Maybe they have agents that actually come in. Maybe they do events, team building. I'm not team building, but office building events, right? And maybe you feel like you're close to different agents. But a lot of real estate offices, I've noticed, it's very solo. It's very lonesome. Sterile, yeah, so it's kind of an office environment where maybe you don't have all the agents. They're all on the road and they're meeting in Starbucks and they don't have a real office. They don't really have a reason to come in. And because of that, you don't really have as much of the camaraderie. I'm not saying this is across the board. This isn't a blanket statement for brokerages. It's not a blanket statement for one specific office or brokerage. It's just that it is a lonesome gig a lot of times if you're doing it solo. You know what I mean? Like you don't have somebody to ping stuff off of. Maybe you don't feel like, if you're the top producer in the office, then like what are you really pinging? And then if you're a low producer in the office, then you're just kind of bugging the top producers that, it's kind of like, oh man, this guy again, he's just asking me more questions that
Accountability,
benefit me in no way. So I've noticed that we have people on our team that, maybe they don't even take leads. Maybe they're just like, I'm going to sell what I'm going to sell, but I just like hanging out with everybody, right? Yeah. You know what I mean?
I think that when you said that, I think about like Steve. Like Steve is like great. It's like he doesn't need leads. He's got his own thing, but he still comes to call day sometimes
because he just wants to hang out.
He has no one to call because like that's just not how his thing sets up. But he just loves the idea of like,
let's have a beer, let's drink whiskey at Steve's house, let's go to Top Golf, let's go do things.
He wants to know what's going on in the real estate market, and that's an easy way for him to plug in. One of the things I was saying for the benefits for a solo agent, it's kind of like accountability because it's like, hey man, you're your own boss, so you can control your workload, you can control your socialization, so you don't have anyone saying like, hey, maybe you should do this, or maybe you take some leads. It's like you're completely flying that ship, so you can do with it as you see fit. So that is a benefit that some people like. They love the, hey, I just come and go as I please.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be another podcast, by the way, is if you've decided to stay solo, at what point should you start a team, and maybe are you meant to be a team leader? Because that's the other thing. As a solo agent, what will happen is at some point you start to get inundated if you're good, right?
Yeah.
You start to say, all right, I'm doing 30, 40, 50 deals a year. I think the numbers after 50, if you disagree, I'd love to see you comment up on YouTube or comment up wherever you're watching or whatever and tell us what you think. But I think after 50, you start to get inundated. Now, it doesn't mean you can't do more. I've done 100 deals solo in a year. We've got a buddy that did 175, I think, solo last year, which is insane. No buyers agents, no team, just an assistant. So it's possible. But for some people, again, that work-life quality starts to drop. So at some point, you may figure, all right, do I want the support? Do I want a team? And maybe as a solo agent, what you do is you say, well, I still don't need a team. I don't want to run the hassle of the business. I don't want to have to provide marketing. I don't want to have to provide these things to other people. But maybe what I do is I just start referring out any overflow I have to another agent in the office. Maybe you find that agent and say, hey, I'll give you, give me 30, 35% of whatever, and I'll just give you any of the overflow. Yeah, any of the overflow. And that's another good approach for a solo agent that says, hey, I can handle 30, 40, 50 deals a year. After that, I'll refer the stuff I don't want, the areas I don't want, the price points I don't want, and they can still make money without maybe overdoing it.
Overextending themselves, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of, so what about for the team? What are some of the benefits for the teams? Because I looked up some stats and some figures. There wasn't a lot of things that I was hoping for, but like in 2018, NAR reported saying that like 26% of every real estate agent's probably on a team.
Yeah.
And he said that was just going to grow. So obviously we're in 2021, so that number is probably swollen some. And we can see why, just from our perspective. Obviously, we're on a team.
It's
we're
going to
running
continue
a team,
to swell.
So, yeah.
I mean, nothing. And again, this isn't anything against solo agents. I think there's a place in the market for both.
Absolutely.
And I think they have benefits on both. But I do think that bigger teams are going to overtake the market in the long term. It doesn't mean that there's not always going to be solo agents that are doing their thing.
You always got to have a maverick.
And super happy about it. But my theory and the way I look at it is, a decade ago, these major brokers almost acted like a big team, right? You had a brokerage that said, hey, we've got 20, 30, 40 agents. My job as the broker and the supervising broker is to help guide you, to give you leads, to give you support, to help you write contracts, and do all these things, but we're going to take our cut. And essentially, we're taking our cut just like a team would take our cut. That's why we take what we take. That's our splits. But then what happened is these brokerages, I think, started getting way bigger. They started having less support, and they become pretty much a compliance officer. That says,
Now we have 100 agents.
yeah, we got
right?
100, 150, 200. And now it's kind of like, all right, but what happens when it's 9 o'clock and I need to write my first contract and I'm a new agent and I call my broker? Is he really going to answer? Again, this is nothing against brokers because some brokers may.
We'll answer, yeah,
but,
for sure.
But the running story is that almost everybody that we bring onto our team says my broker will not answer. My broker will not sit down with me when I need the help. I'm trying to figure this out and I'm having to do it on my own, and it's hard.
And it's not that the brokers don't want to.
They're just busy.
They're inundated. They're busy.
So now you take it and they say, well, I'm giving X amount of my money to these people and I'm not getting the help I need. So what choices do I have? Well, enter in now over the last 10 years or so the discount broker, the broker that comes in and says, all right, well, we're not going to give you support either. But we'll only charge you $400 or $500 a transaction, and you can come in and you can do your own thing. But I feel like that's where a lot of agents go to die because they don't want to necessarily grow their business. They're only looking at it as, well, if I'm only going to do a couple of deals, I need to pay.
Save money.
I need to just save money. But you never make money by saving money. That's not how it works. It's much easier to cash flow. So then you have that. But then the problem is when this agent shifts over, they're still not getting the support. Again, not a blanket statement. Some discount brokerages claim to offer support. They will do training, whatever. That may be the case. But again, same story. They get over here and they say, well, $500 is great, but 100% of my commission on zero commission is $0.
$0.
Right? So
I have just banked $0 and I have rising costs every month. So here we go.
So now they need something. So now the teams are blowing up. Now you're starting to see teams, especially, where we're at in Richmond, it's nuts to see the numbers that a lot of the teams are putting down, the deals that we're putting down, because these guys say, where can I go where there's going to be people that will show me how to write a contract, that will run training sessions every week, that will run call days, that will provide leads, that will provide softwares, that will give me the system, not a compliance system, but a system to actually sell, to make money. When I came into this business, I was solo. It took me 7 months to get a paycheck. I had 2 deals fall apart on me within the first 7 months. It was a nightmare. I had no real hard systems, no hard fast rules. I had a good broker, I had a nice broker, but nothing was really provided to make sure that I was going to make money. I had to make sure I did it myself. On the flip side, now we've brought in 5 new agents in the last 6 months, 5 months, and every single one of them has done 5 to 10 deals already. Something
They're all
like that.
doing deals, right?
I think,
Yeah.
man, if you put together 20, 30, 60, $70,000 in commission in 4 months, 3 months, 2 months in some instances.
Yeah.
It took me 7 as a solo agent. and you're talking about an agent that can do 100 deals by himself now that he's gotten established. So to think that an agent like that, it's not like I'm a failure. You know what I mean? I stayed in.
I mean,
I
you
made it
were.
work.
I mean, it was
but I was. I
embarrassing.
started that way, right? So this means that if you maybe aren't going to be as strong, the team's going to help you. But if you were an agent that could do 100 deals, man, that team is going to just boost you up.
You're going to fly through the window.
If it's the right
Yeah.
fit. So again, that's where we also say this isn't saying one is right, one is wrong. This isn't saying that a broker isn't going to give you these things. It's not saying that a team will give you these things, because we've had agents come on board from other teams that said I was there for a year, only did 2 deals, and now they've made more in 3 weeks than they made in the entire year, right?
I also think it's kind of a cool thing to look at, because a lot of times people hear teams and they immediately think like, oh, I'm new, I got to be on the team. But we've got several guys who have jumped on our team who were not new agents. They've been in the business for 5 years. But one of the things that they were looking for is like, hey, I'm already crushing deals. I would like some lead support. I know how to close, but I like the synergy. I like the camaraderie. Because the fact of the matter is like, people who are doing business want to be around other people who are doing business. You're not going to sell anything if you're not with other people who are doing sales. It just doesn't make sense, because it's like you're not in that industry, you're not in that flow, you're not looking at them saying like, oh, okay, so that's what you do, that's why, okay, I'm going to replicate that in my own business.
Yeah.
So that's one of the benefits of the team, and thankfully we've crafted our team in a way that like if you're on the team, like, hey, be the agent that you want to help. All of our guys are like, hey, I'm making good money, but I want to help you, because it doesn't take anything away from me to help someone else. Is like, and that's how we're filling our team. Like, if a person's like, yeah, I don't really want to do that, and we're like, well, maybe you're not a good fit for our team.
Yeah, I don't want to help people.
Exactly. And we've had people that are like, yeah, that's not my thing. I was like, hey, totally get it. I understand. Maybe we're not a good fit. But right now, I think ours is just a good home, because we've got like some real players that are like, no, I'll call me late at night. I'll help you write the contract.
Yeah.
I jumped on Zoom with Steve one day, and we went through one of his first couple contracts. I'm like, all right, this is what we want to do. This is how we want to write it.
Yeah, and we've agents ask that us all the time. Well, what if I need help in the evening? I think like, Brandon, our first deal, I think I did at my kitchen counter after I had drinking a couple beers or cocktails. And
We've all heard, and if you guys watched other episodes, you've heard about the Davis Group cocktails that he makes.
Ooh, they're strong. So yeah, I'd done a couple of those, and we wrapped up around 9:30, 10, and then he went home. But I mean, that's what it's about. So that's the other thing. If you're talking to teams and you're interviewing, you're thinking maybe I do want to be on a team, you really want to get the feedback if you're interviewing multiple people. And you may be in Richmond. If you are, you're welcome to call us. If you're not and you're listening from somewhere else, when you're talking to that team, find out what is the
Still call
CRM, what is the lead support, how many leads can I expect, what am I paying split-wise on these leads, what are you doing as far as training goes, classes goes, calling goes, do we have scripts, what kind of leads are we getting, right? All of these things are big questions, because there's plenty of teams that operate that haven't gotten to a level where they can provide that support. Maybe you get an agent that's just busy now, and they say, well, I need a buyer's agent to give some overflow to. But that guy doesn't have a system yet. He doesn't have maybe the support. He's just like, man, I'm selling 10 houses a month, 6 houses a month. I keep getting referrals. I can't handle them. I'm too busy. Let's just pass it on. Is that the best team for you to be on at first? Probably not. If you're a solo agent, maybe you could help that guy out. But to come on, has he really built the systems out yet that are going to create success?
Just call him. You're like, all right, what do I call? What do I say?
Yeah.
You just call him. Just tell him who you are and what you do. I'm like, there's a little bit more to that and that's like something that I hear from a lot of like overworked veterans. So they're just like, hey, I'll just give them some leads, and like, I don't know why they left. I gave them leads, and it's like, yeah, but did you tell them what to do with it? Did you give them a system? Did you train them? There's informal and there's formal training. We provide both, because informal to me is some of the best, where it's like, hey, shadow us.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to say here, just call them. Like, here, listen to me call them.
Well, and that's another perk of a team versus a solo agent if you're new. If you're not new, then it is disregard. But if you are new, again, most people think I can come in and I'm just going to follow the broker around all day. But the broker may not even be selling houses, right? I'm not saying he isn't. Some brokers do, some don't. But if someone's just supervising and they're the boss, they may not be going on listing appointments. They may not be going on buyer consults. And they again, not going to blanket statement. Maybe they will. But most
So
brokers,
many qualifiers today.
But I don't think most brokers, if you call them as a new agent, say, I'm going on a listing appointment, will you come sell it for me, with me? I don't think most brokers are going to do that. I mean, some you can barely get them to help you write a contract. So I think it's going to be hard to be like, hey, will you come on all my appointments this week and try to help me close them, right? That's where, okay, now the team support comes in. It's like, hey, you may need some hand-holding on this first listing appointment because you represent a team now. So if you represent me and you go to this listing appointment and you botch it awfully.
The Davis group came in here and they were awful.
Yeah, they trashed my house, or man, they told me my house was worth $40,000 less than what the last 5 people told me, you know, like, you know what I mean? So we want to make sure that you're trained for success. And that's what any good team should be doing. So, again, solo agent, if you're brand new, you got to ask yourself, where am I going to market? How am I going to market? How am I going to pay for said marketing? But you may not need to.
Which marketing is the best? That's another one, because it's like someone could be like, oh, yeah, you know what? Just get a bunch of mailers. And it's like, it might not be the best in 2021. It might work in a certain area, but you need to know. You might not know.
Well, and at the end of the day, a mailer is something that needs to happen for years before you really start seeing fruits of it if you're going to farm a neighborhood. So if you're brand new and you make zero money and now you have to budget $800 to $1,000 in mailers each month, like, good luck maintaining that budget for a while. But you know what I mean? So that's the other thing, that hopefully a team has some kind of system in play that says, here's the leads that we've seen working, here's the conversion rate, because otherwise you're just left to figure it out on your own. And again, I was solo. I figured it out. I spent $36,000 one year in mailers, and I think I got 2 deals out of it, and thankfully they were enough that it paid for the $36,000, but it wasn't a good ROI. It wasn't a good return on investment. But
that doesn't normally happen.
Yeah, but I mean, it could have been, you know, if I hadn't gotten one of those deals, then I would have been out $20,000. I spent $18,000 one year on an ISA company that just called to start to set up listing appointments, and it was like the worst thing I've ever done. They'd set up an appointment, you know, like 3-4 a week, and you'd get there and no one would even be there. Or you'd get there and they'd be like, I told them I was renting it out. And you're like, well, then why did they send me this confirmed appointment, right? And then, I mean, that was $18,000 down the drain, right? So to be able to maybe mask some of that loss, you know, band-aid some of the issues that you could have, and say, well, hey, you're going to come on, we're going to give you leads. These convert at a rate of 15%. These convert at a rate of 30%, right? Here they are. They're free to you. You just pay a higher cut maybe on it. It's free money that you wouldn't have had. And then one thing that I like about all of these things, and I like it as a solo agent, you can get referral deals from companies like Redfin, Movado. There's companies out there that do it. And I recommend solo agents sign up for those because you don't put upfront money out. But even on a team, it's the same principle, right? If I give you a lead and you pay me half instead of 30% or whatever it is, whatever y'all splits are.
If you close it.
If you close it, it's money you weren't going to have, so everybody's happy. You now have a client for the long term, hopefully, that
Sing
will
your praises.
call you in the sell. They'll refer you out, and that one deal will hopefully now turn into 5, 10, 20 deals in the future.
Something to promote.
And so if you were closing one of those deals a month, think about how much that spreads like wildfire later on.
There's so many pluses for both sides. I love discussions like this, because I think a lot of times people are going to be like, oh, their guys are just going to say how great the team is. But I'm like, there's good on both sides.
100%. I mean, you may not want a team camaraderie. You may not want to hang out with other people. You may not want to go to a team meeting every week.
I mean, you'd want to
not,
hang out with us. But
I mean, everybody wants to hang out with us. You may not want to go to a team meeting. You may not want to go to call days. You know what I mean? And so at the end of the day, if you're not taking advantage of any of those perks, relationships, benefits, then maybe you just figure, hey, I'm going to do my own thing. Yeah. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. I think we've only had one person leave our team in the last 2 years, really. But even him, he was only on for like a couple months, but he just figured like, man, I think the leads are just too much like to handle.
We were actually giving him too much.
Yeah, which is great because most people leave teams because they're like,
yeah,
they promised me leads and I never got any, and then you're like, well, now you're just paying all this split. They're like, I've done 8 deals by myself and I haven't gotten one deal out of them, and now I'm like, I've given them $40,000, and you're like, wow, okay, but they're not giving you anything back. So you want to make sure that what you're paying is actually, you know, you're getting something out of. But you know, that was the one that we've lost, and it was fine because he left on great terms. He called me, he was nice. I still talk to him regularly.
Yeah.
Someone called me the other day and just complimented me on him on a deal that we had together, like before he left. I was like, man, that guy was stand up. But he just realized, I'm not going to take advantage of the tools that you're providing me, so I'm going to go do my own thing and just sell what I'm going to sell. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. So you just have to ask yourself, is this something that I can get benefits out of? Would I rather do my own? Do I want to call the shots? Do I want to build a team, right? We had a guy come on board at the beginning of the year, and he was like,
I want to build a team.
That's what he said. When I want to invest, I want to build my own team. I'd love to have something like you one day. I was like, great, man. Well, come on. I'll teach you how to do it. And if you ever want to leave, you'll leave on good terms and we'll be all good. And about a month in, he was just like, I'm never building a team and I'm never leaving.
Because he saw all the things that we were doing, and it's more than just like real estate. It's like people management. It's like
it's not
training
a
people.
realtor. You can be a realtor and you can be a team owner, but they're two separate things. And that's every business. You may make the best pizza in the world, but if you open a pizza shop, it may be the worst pizza shop ever. Because you know pizzas, you don't know business. It's actually almost a crutch to know the line of work that you're in sometimes.
That's a good title for something. You know pizzas, but you don't know business.
Is that okay?
I'm gonna write that
Let's do
down.
it. We'll put that down. Squiggle. Are we squiggling?
There you
Okay,
go.
good. All right. Yeah, so at the end of the day, it is two separate things. But again, I think for a future podcast, we should talk about, hey, are you overloaded? Is it time to build a team? And that's one of the things we help at with with EXP. Obviously, we all benefit when we bring people in. It's one of the greatest business models I've ever seen. We've been here a year and a half, and it's been game-changing to our business. But our thing is, if you're running a team, we've got teams coming in that just want to build bigger teams, and they're not getting that out of their brokers. Their brokerage is saying, well, I'm not getting the benefits of maybe the supplemental income that can come out of it if I was to go somewhere else. I run the biggest team with my brokerage right this second, or the other teams are bigger, but they don't want to help me because I'm their competition, right? So we're actually taking teams that are coming in that say, hey, I want to build to where you're at, right? You were at 5 agents a year ago. Now you're at 20 agents. You were here a year ago. Now you're going to be doing 50, 60 million. By next year, 75 million. I'm tracking behind you. I just want the help. And we're doing that too. So even if you're a team agent, even if you're not in Richmond, in fact, probably better if you're not in Richmond, because then we can help launch another market out. So if you're listening to this as a team that's somewhere else that says, hey man, I just started growing this team. I really want to build this thing out big. Then definitely reach out to us. Give us a call, because we're helping teams all over the country build out into being mega teams if that's what they want. Because again, I do think that's the future. I think
That's where we're going.
it's hard to be a solo agent. That's probably one con. It's hard to be a high producing solo agent and stay on top of your game all the time for every single client and every single deal and every single person. Because most agents, when they get 1 or 2 deals in the hopper, they start getting overwhelmed. But when you have 19, 20, 30 deals in the hopper, and you're dealing with 30 other realtors and 30 lenders and 60 closing companies and everything that's going on, and you're trying to maintain your buyers that are still putting their stuff under contract, and you're trying to maintain your active listings, and you're going on listing appointments, it becomes very difficult at some point. So I think that's it.
Well, owning a business or starting a business or even being a self-employed person in some regards there's always going to be growing pains. It never ends.
It is. So that's why systems are so crucial. If you never listened to Rocket Fuel or Traction, you guys should write that down and you should listen to it. And if we can help you grow your business or your team in any way, we'd love to help. If you are looking for a good team and you're in the Richmond area,
Love to help.
well, again, we would love to help. We're building. We have 20 agents now. We really realistically need about 30 to 40 agents to scale what we know we can scale with the leads that we have that we're providing. We're upping our budget every month pretty much on leads because we're turning them into deals, and we need people to cover them, and we need people that want to close deals. So if you're an agent, if you want to learn how to close deals, if you want to be a part of something great, awesome. And if you're a solo agent and you just want our help, we'll help you. That's fine too. You may not have any interest in a team, but you may say, how are you systemizing this or systemizing that? How are you scaling? How did you scale when you were solo to be able to get this done? How did you hire a TC? How did you hire an assistant? What about virtual assistants? If you have questions like that, just know that's why we run this podcast. We want to be informative. We want to have the proximity to other agents, not even just in Richmond, across the country, across the globe, to be able to help them succeed. And that's why we do what we do. Galen, anything else?
No, man, I think this has been a great one. I think this will help a lot of people, kind of give them some direction, because I feel like there's so many new agents come on there just like, I just don't know what I'm going to do when I woke up this morning. I was like, I don't have any direction. And
No, 100%.
We can kind of give you that.
If you want us to build you a business plan, we can do that too.
Yeah.
We show you what works. Let us know what you want to hear about. You want to hear about calling FSBOs? You want to hear about more investment stuff? You want to hear about syndicating apartment deals? You let us know what you want to hear. We appreciate you listening to us. If you'd like to follow us or reach out, you can search for The Davis Group on YouTube. On Instagram, it's __ The Davis Group, or you can call me directly at 804-536-6100. Email is jared@centralvarealty.com. And Galen?
I am at 804-274-9016. Galen at centralvarealty.com, or Live, Love, Learn RVA on Instagram. Google me, baby. I'm out there.
That's it. This has been another episode of RVA Real Estate Talk. Thank you for listening.
If you have a real estate question that you would like to ask Jared or Galen, reach out to them at jared@centralvarealty.com or Galen@centralvarealty.com. Who knows, it may even be featured on an upcoming episode.